I was like, you love your wives. Great.
You're polygamous, so it's kind of like...
The premiere of Sister Wives Season 20 wastes no time pulling fans straight into chaos. From the very first frame, the atmosphere feels charged, like a storm brewing on the horizon. Kody Brown walks into the scene with his trademark stiff smile, but behind his eyes lies something darker. His jaw is tight, his movements clipped, as though he already knows tonight won't end peacefully. Around him sit the wives, Robyn, Mary, Janelle, Christine, and even whispers of a new voice trying to enter the fold. Each woman masks her emotions, but beneath the fragile smiles lies a battlefield of old wounds and unspoken betrayals. It doesn't take long before the mask slips. Mary, the wife who once mastered silence, finally unleashes the truth she's buried for years. Her voice is sharp, cutting through the room like glass shattering. "I can't keep pretending this is working," she confesses, her eyes brimming but unyielding. For the first time in ages, she speaks not as the cautious wife, but as a woman broken and done with compromise. Kody tries to nod, tries to appear calm, but the flicker in his eyes betrays him. He's shaken. For the audience, it's a shocking, almost cinematic moment. A wife who has always been sidelined suddenly standing at center stage. But before the room can catch its breath, Janelle jumps in. Known for her blunt honesty, she seizes the opening like a warrior unsheathing her sword. Her words come fast, hot, laced with frustration years in the making. The target? Robyn. What begins as a discussion over land and loyalty quickly erupts into accusations of favoritism and manipulation. Robyn, who has long carried the image of being Kody's confidant, tries to maintain her composure, but the camera tells the truth. Her jaw tightens, her hands clench, and a flicker of fear crosses her eyes. She's not as unshakable as she wants the world to believe. Christine, once the peacemaker, looks overwhelmed. She glances toward the camera as though pleading with viewers. "Do you see what I see? Do you feel this storm?" Her silence says more than words could. But silence cannot hold back the avalanche. Kody drops a hint, a revelation about a looming decision that could shatter the family structure forever. His voice trembles, not with weakness, but with the weight of the chaos he himself has created. The wives freeze. Their eyes widen. Shock, anger, disbelief, they all hang heavy in the air. The family gathers for what appears to be a routine talk, but routine has no place here. The conversation spirals into grievances never voiced before. Accusations of betrayal fly like knives. Years of resentment spill across the table, every word loaded like ammunition. Then comes the moment that makes even hardened fans gasp. A confession from Kody himself. In a hushed tone, he admits, "I've tried to hold everything together, but I can't do this alone." For a man who thrives on control, the vulnerability is staggering. The wives are stunned into silence. For viewers, it's an earthquake. And just when the dust seems ready to settle, a whispered exchange between two wives plants the biggest seed of all, an alliance forming in secret. Their words are barely audible, but their meaning is explosive. The camera lingers, music swells, and the episode delivers its first devastating cliffhanger. Viewers are left trembling, knowing this season isn't just drama, it's war. The episode pushes further, showing Christine like fans have never seen her before. Gone is the cautious diplomat. She explodes with raw vulnerability, her voice trembling but fierce. How much longer are we going to pretend this family isn't broken? The silence afterward is suffocating. Kody's face falters, his carefully crafted empire showing cracks. For a fleeting second, regret flashes across his eyes. It's a moment so real, so unguarded, that even die-hard viewers can't look away. Meanwhile, Robyn faces the fire. Accusations swarm around her, questions of loyalty, favoritism, and power. For once, her calm veneer slips. The camera catches frustration burning behind her eyes, a glimpse of the woman fans have suspected but never fully seen. Every sigh, every narrowed gaze, every trembling lip speaks of a storm raging within. And then comes Mary's bombshell, words that detonate like dynamite in the living room. She drags Kody's past decisions into the light, choices hidden from the family for years. The revelation is devastating. Kody, usually the unshakable patriarch, suddenly falters. His breath catches. His confidence crumbles. And for the first time, it seems even he realizes, this family is dangling by a thread. Kody's reaction may have seemed subtle on the surface. A pause, a downward glance, a barely audible murmur. But to longtime fans it was a thunderclap. That tiny hesitation was enough to send shockwaves across social media. Within minutes, comment sections exploded with speculation. What did he mean? What decision was he hiding? Was this the beginning of the end of the Brown family as viewers had known it for nearly 2 decades? The internet erupted with theories, memes, and predictions, cementing the fact that Sister Wives Season 20 had already grabbed the world by the throat. The episode, however, gave no time to breathe. Almost immediately, the fragile peace shattered again. Janelle and Robyn locked horns in an explosive argument that had been building for seasons. What started as a minor disagreement spiraled into a ferocious confrontation. The camera work was relentless, zooming in on clenched fists, trembling lips, and darting eyes. Every flicker of emotion was captured, magnified, and delivered to viewers like a live grenade. It was more than an argument. It was years of jealousy, resentment, and whispered slights erupting all at once. Fans watching at home could almost feel the heat of that room, the raw, unfiltered tension that made them lean closer to their screens. Kody, desperate to reclaim his authority, stepped in. His attempt to mediate was half patriarch, half plea. But instead of calming the storm, his words only fanned the flames. Some wives nodded reluctantly, their faces etched with exhaustion, while others pushed back harder, their frustration overflowing. The air was electric, almost dangerous, as though even one wrong word could set the entire family ablaze. For the first time it felt less like a family and more like a battlefield, one where loyalty was currency and betrayal could strike at any second. Then came a moment that no one expected. In a private confessional, Kody let his guard down. His voice cracked as he admitted the impossible weight of trying to balance the needs, insecurities, and expectations of 5 wives. "No one knows how hard this really is," he confessed, his words trembling with exhaustion. For fans, this was rare gold. Kody stripped of bravado, his vulnerabilities laid bare. It was the kind of raw human moment that reminded audiences why they had been hooked on this family for 20 seasons. Not just for the drama, but for the painful, undeniable humanity beneath it. But the vulnerability didn't last long. The climax of episode 1 detonated like a bomb. A confrontation between 2 wives escalated into screams, sobs, and accusations so sharp they cut through the living room like knives. The camera didn't look away. It lingered on every tear, every trembling lip, every daggered stare. It felt less like a reality show and more like history unfolding in real time. Viewers sat frozen, unable to look away, as if they were in the room themselves, witnessing the family tear itself apart. And just as the dust began to settle, the real shocker dropped. A whispered conversation between 2 wives revealed the unthinkable, an alliance forming in secret. It was a dangerous, whispered pact that promised to shift power in ways no one could predict. The producers captured every hushed word, every exchanged glance, every hidden nod, and left fans gasping. What did this alliance mean? Who could be trusted? And how would Kody respond when the truth inevitably surfaced? The closing act of the episode was nothing short of haunting. Christine, usually the steady hand, finally broke in her confessional. Her voice trembled as she admitted, "I don't know if we can survive this season without breaking apart." Her raw honesty was devastating. It wasn't just frustration. It was the exhaustion of a woman who had carried the weight of keeping peace for far too long. Meanwhile, Robyn retreated into silence, her mind racing. She replayed her spat with Janelle over and over, her lips pressed tight as she calculated her next move. For years she had carried the image of the favored wife. But in that moment the cracks showed. Was she finally realizing that being Kody's last standing partner wasn't a prize but a prison? The camera caught her calculating gaze, her tightened jaw, her clenched hands. Every gesture screamed strategy, survival, and fear. Mary's storyline continued to tug at viewers' emotions. Earlier she had dropped a bombshell that shook the household, but in her private confessionals, another side of her emerged. Tears welled in her eyes as she admitted, "I just wanted to be heard." Is that too much to ask? For fans who had watched her fade into the background season after season, this was a revelation. She wasn't just the forgotten wife. She was a woman clawing back her voice, her dignity, her truth. The moment was as heartbreaking as it was empowering. Janelle, fiery and unrepentant, leaned into her role as the disruptor. In her confessional, she teased at new strategies, at potential alliances that could shatter the fragile balance of power. Her words dripped with both excitement and apprehension. Fans could sense it. Janelle wasn't just lashing out. She was planning. And her plans could change everything. The final moments of the episode pulled every thread together into a devastating cliffhanger. Kody summoned the wives for a private family meeting. His words were slow, deliberate, heavy with warning. This season things are going to change. We need to face what's coming, together. The ambiguity of his message was chilling. What was coming? What was he hiding? The camera lingered on the wives' faces, each one reflecting shock, suspicion, and dread. But just as the tension reached its peak, the producers delivered one final masterstroke. Two wives leaned into each other, whispering words so faint they were barely audible. Their exchanged glances, their subtle nods. It all screamed conspiracy. Something was happening beneath the surface, something that promised betrayal, secrets, and war. The credits rolled over a montage of shattered expressions, lingering tears, and unresolved rage, all set to a haunting score that promised the storm was far from over. By the end of episode 1, one truth was undeniable. This wasn't just another season. This was the beginning of the Brown family's most dangerous chapter yet. The questions burned hotter than ever. Would Kody's control survive? Would the wives unite or destroy each other? And what devastating secrets still lurked in the shadows? One thing was clear. Sister Wives Season 20 had arrived, and it was ready to rip the family and the audience apart piece by piece. What was once called the Brown family's dream, Coyote Pass and its cul-de-sac of hope, now stands as nothing more than a silent graveyard. The wide-open land that was supposed to symbolize unity has transformed into a ghost town of broken promises, fractured bonds, and unspoken betrayals. Each empty home echoes with the memory of what was lost, a haunting representation of a spiritual death. For years, fans clung to the dream, but now Season 20 has finally confirmed what many feared all along. The dream is dead. As Episode 1 made clear, the audience's reaction wasn't mild. It was explosive. Within hours of the premiere, YouTube, Reddit, TikTok, and X Twitter were ablaze with outrage, sympathy, and wild speculation. The internet had never seen Sister Wives discourse reach such fever pitch. One viral post read, "Kody Brown is no longer a husband, father, or leader. He's nothing but a cautionary tale with fabulous hair." Another fan skewered Robyn in brutal fashion. The performance of the century is Robyn, sitting on her throne of destruction, sobbing crocodile tears. The backlash was immediate and merciless, painting Kody and Robyn as villains in their own empire. But not every reaction was fueled by anger. Alongside the criticism came a wave of sympathy for Mary, Janelle, and the children, especially Gabriel and Garrison. Once sidelined, these young men won hearts with their raw, unfiltered honesty. Fans flooded timelines with messages of support, declaring that the real strength of the Brown family now lived in the wives and kids who refused to be silenced. It wasn't just television anymore. It had become a cultural reckoning. The whispers swirling online made it worse. Rumors claimed Kody had been quietly banned from certain filming situations. If true, it wasn't just cracks in the Sister Wives empire. It was a full-blown collapse. Fans began to ask the question that hung over the season like a storm cloud. Is this the beginning of the end, not just for Kody Brown but for Sister Wives itself? And then came the twist no one expected. Kody stepping into an entirely different arena. Away from the broken cul-de-sac, he had secretly signed on for a new reality competition, Special Forces, World's Toughest Test Season 4. The news detonated across entertainment headlines. For the first time in years, Kody wasn't framed as a polygamist patriarch, but as a competitor forced to prove his worth under the harshest conditions imaginable. The cast was packed with recognizable and controversial names: Jussie Smollett, Teresa Giudice and her daughter Gia, Eva Marcel from Real Housewives, football stars, reality TV alumni, and influencers. And then there was Kody Brown, the infamous face of Sister Wives, suddenly thrust into military-style challenges designed to break even the strongest recruits. Helicopter water drops, ravine traversals, interrogation chambers. This wasn't polygamy, this was survival. For years, Kody's narrative had been one of control. His wives, his land, his children, his so-called dream. But in Special Forces there would be no control, no favoritism, no carefully staged power plays. Either you endured or you quit. And the thought of watching Kody stripped of his bravado and tested in real danger had fans buzzing with equal parts anticipation and disbelief. Could the man who struggled to hold his own household together possibly withstand military-grade training? Or would his downfall be broadcast for millions to witness? The implications were staggering. If Kody managed to prove himself, perhaps he could reshape his public image. No longer just the villain of Sister Wives, but a competitor who pushed past his failures. But if he faltered, his collapse would only fuel the narrative that his empire was doomed. Either way, his reputation and maybe the future of his brand hung in the balance. Meanwhile, away from Kody's theatrics, the wives were quietly reclaiming their lives. Janelle, once trapped in financial dependency in Kody's shadow, began charting her own path. In a raw and uplifting moment, she revealed her latest milestone: traveling to Canada alone and conquering her fear of driving in a foreign country. It may have seemed small to outsiders, but for Janelle it was monumental. "I was intimidated," she admitted with a proud smile. "But I did it. And I proved to myself I can handle life on my own terms." Driving unfamiliar roads with unfamiliar rules wasn't just about kilometers versus miles. It was about freedom. Each turn of the wheel symbolized her independence, her resilience, her refusal to be defined by decades of compromise. For years she had handed her finances, her choices, even her independence over to Kody. Now, with every mile she drove alone, she was reclaiming herself. Fans flooded her social media with praise, hailing her as the embodiment of strength, intelligence, and growth. Her quiet victory in Canada wasn't just a personal milestone, it was a declaration of a new era. As the episode closed, the contrast was stark. Kody fighting to salvage his relevance by throwing himself into brutal physical tests. Robyn isolated and facing mounting public scorn. Mary cautiously rebuilding her voice. Christine thriving beyond Kody's reach. And Janelle steering her own life with newfound confidence. The dream of unity at Coyote Pass was gone. But in its ashes, something new was emerging. Individual women carving their own futures, while Kody faced a reckoning that might break him once and for all. And the question that echoed louder than ever was this: will Season 20 be remembered as the season that finally destroyed Kody Brown's empire, or the season that set his wives free? The Brown family's story has always been a saga of faith, love, and betrayal. But in Season 20, the dream has fully collapsed into a nightmare. What once stood as a vision of unity at Coyote Pass has turned into a symbolic graveyard, a cul-de-sac of abandoned houses and shattered hopes. The land that was supposed to unite them now testifies to their downfall. A haunting reminder of how ambition, favoritism, and secrets can bury even the strongest dreams. Fans watching episode 1 couldn't stay silent. The internet exploded within hours. Reddit threads running wild, TikTok edits going viral, and Twitter/X melting down with outrage, sympathy, and a storm of theories. For Kody and Robyn, the backlash was immediate and merciless. One viral post mocked, "Kody Brown isn't a leader anymore. He's a cautionary tale with fabulous hair." Another fan roasted Robyn. "The performance of the century is Robyn, crying on her throne of destruction while cashing in on the wreckage." These brutal takes spread like wildfire, reshaping their public image in real time. But in the midst of the fury came a wave of compassion. For Mary, Janelle, and especially the Brown kids who have endured years of chaos. Gabriel and Garrison, once quiet in the background, suddenly emerged as unlikely heroes. Their blunt honesty resonated with fans, who saw in them the unfiltered truth the show often glossed over. Supporters flooded social media, writing messages of love, solidarity, and prayers for healing. In their pain, the children became the most relatable voices of the entire saga. The whispers swirling around production only fueled the storm. Rumors that Kody had been quietly banned from certain filming situations spread like wildfire. True, it wasn't just cracks in the Sister Wives empire. It was a complete implosion. Viewers began asking the darkest question of all. Was this not just the end of Kody's reign, but the end of Sister Wives itself? And yet, while one empire crumbled, Kody shocked everyone by stepping into an entirely new arena. News broke that he had signed on for Special Forces, World's Toughest Test Season 4. The irony was too much for fans to ignore. A man who couldn't hold his family together was now preparing to endure military-style challenges meant to break even the toughest recruits. The cast list read like a tabloid fever dream. Jussie Smollett, Teresa Giudice and her daughter Gia, Eva Marcil, sports stars, influencers and reality TV veterans. And there among them stood Kody Brown. No wives. No children. No cul-de-sac to hide behind. Just him versus brutal challenges. Helicopter drops into icy waters, grueling hikes through ravines, interrogation chambers that strip away ego. For years, Kody's storyline had been about power. Holding it, losing it, fighting for it. But in Special Forces, power meant nothing. You either endured the pain or you quit. Fans were salivating at the prospect. Would Kody finally be humbled? Would his bravado collapse under real pressure? Or would he shock the world and survive where others failed? Meanwhile, the wives continued building their own legacies. Janelle's quiet milestone in Canada struck a chord worldwide. For the first time, she traveled alone, conquered her fear of driving abroad, and declared to herself and the world that she no longer needed Kody to guide her. Every turn of the wheel symbolized independence, freedom, and defiance. Fans hailed her as the true matriarch, resilient, intelligent, and finally free. Christine's journey, however, was even more dramatic. After decades of neglect, she embraced love with David Woolley, a man who gave her the affection Kody never did. Their whirlwind romance, public kisses, playful Instagram posts, heartfelt vows in Moab, Utah, was everything Christine had been starved for. For viewers, watching her flourish was both healing and heartbreaking. She admitted candidly in the season 19 tell-all, "We used each other. Our intimacy was empty." That one sentence shattered the illusion of her marriage to Kody and validated years of speculation. When David watched a montage of his and Christine's public displays of affection, he gently teased, "You were starved for attention." Embarrassed but smiling, Christine admitted it was true. Fans knew it too. For the first time in decades, she wasn't begging for affection, she was drowning in it. Even Kody himself, in a surprising twist, admitted during the tell-all that Christine had manifested exactly what she always wanted. "I'm impressed," he said through gritted teeth, a mix of bitterness and reluctant respect. His words revealed what fans already knew: Christine had won. She had moved on, and Kody was left with nothing but the ashes of his empire. But the true fracture still centered around Robyn. In season 19's tell-all, when asked about favoritism, she denied Kody had ever chosen her over the others. Her words ignited fury across the fandom. The evidence of her privileged position was undeniable. Her mansion, her luxuries, her closeness to Kody. To deny it felt like spitting on years of pain endured by the other wives. Janelle's biting words echoed in fans' minds. She was the sacred cow. Fans accused Robyn not only of enabling Kody's favoritism but of obstructing the family's healing after Garrison's tragic passing. Her insistence that the family could still reconcile felt delusional at best, manipulative at worst. It wasn't hope, it was denial. And in that denial, she risked destroying whatever fragile connections remained. Financial scandals added more gasoline to the fire. Kody and Robyn's $2.1 million Flagstaff estate with heated driveways and opulent upgrades stood in stark contrast to the financial struggles of the OG3. Rumors of embezzling family funds only deepened the resentment. Even the children began speaking out, noting the blatant disparity between life before and after Robyn entered the picture. Amid all of this, Mary's story remained bittersweet. Once Robyn's closest ally, she had been betrayed and sidelined. Yet her lingering sentimental bond with both Kody and Robyn left fans conflicted. Could Mary truly walk away? Or was she destined to remain entangled in a toxic web of loyalty and regret? Robyn hinted at reconciliation. Mary resisted. But the undercurrent of unresolved history between them promised more turbulence ahead. And so, as the tell-all closed and season 20's storm gathered, one truth became painfully clear. The Brown family is no longer bound by unity but by conflict. The wives are carving new futures. The children are finding their voices. Kody is floundering for relevance. And Robyn, isolated, criticized, yet still clinging to control, has become the most polarizing figure of all. The Brown Empire has collapsed, but the fallout is far from over. The question now is not if the family survives, but who rises from the ashes.